Okay, there you go. It's recording it. Sorry. Back to I guess this is a briefing to the previous video where I made my introductions. Basically, um, whenever I was talking about the magnetic field lines in the ocean, and how the ocean waves diffract energy constantly with the magnetic indications of how the thermal velocity of states can transition through the four states of matter. Thus, through the tectonic plates and or the tectonic channels of plasma, they all have different rises of magnitude in gases. Um, Not only does the sun help evaporate and make these different charged quantities of storms, but their grayscale indication um, indicates different types of charge phases. So these different charged phases of the clouds, which would be out of the gray scale, would indicate um, how highly charged these storms are. Some of these storms quantities and or atmospheric quantities are charged interactions with um, particles and or atoms in the atmosphere um, from space-time curvature. Since we continuously go through space-time curvature, we collect various scales of gray matter over every mass ejection over a statical distance. And the mass ejection is always highly charged because the sun is always ejecting gray matter constantly. Um, Sometimes it's vacuuming, and it always travels in various different ways as it surrounds the planet and or collect over a statical distribution of rotation, of constant rotation, would indicate gravity and the gravitational force that the planet has on the quantum dot and or the plasma charge. Since plasma and or the core of the planet would obviously indicate how its nuclear phases of going through its turbulence and sustaining its charge would indicate sometimes how it produces different types of storms too. Besides the incoming quantity of space would always be from the light like. Thus, there's light like underground, which would obviously indicate the gravitational pull that has on sustaining our our um, our bending of energy on the ground, and or us being here gravitationally. Um, in other cases, um, and or basically some storms, exerted from the tectonics and through the plasma phases, some through different release charged gases from volcanic interactions and earthquakes. These gases release and or their charge indication rapidly differently of regions that we've never even explored, going through these different manifolds of space and time. Um, it can make and or open activations as we see the charges through these clouds and or the container capacity of the electronic vacuum conducting these activations of these charges over a period of time. The duration of the charge would be how long the magnitude phases of the charge duration indicated coordinates of space and time as they ripple in these different geological areas, these geometrics, these typologies over a vector space. Um, Although try not to talk about the clouds too much and or the atmospheric layers or layers of atmospheric charges, which would be a different thermal state, obviously indicating how hot and or not as hot it is in the different layers of the atmosphere. I mean, obviously you probably experienced this as you travel into an airplane. Greatly less oxygen because this atmospheric pressure and gravity keeps oxygen closer to the ground. I mean, you can still take a deep breath and everything. Thus, um, it's more spread out because gas phases will always be gas phases. So, I mean, I don't. Back to not really talking about that because obviously the sun will keep it really hot in there. So if you keep the windows open, that's like greenhouse effect. But okay, so I wasn't really trying to talk about that. I was trying to get back to the tools, the nuclear tools that we can create in these different sectors of the planet. In the ocean quantities, we can make different types of nuclear tools, like for example, these dishes that also moves with the waves. These little ball-like dishes and are wide bowl-like dishes and or spattle-like dishes and or hop-like dishes. They provide electromagnetic force, and they interact with the forces and the fundamental forces around us and space. Since we can, since the waves produce are is a constant energy and constant electromagnetic force and the constant motion of sending particles around our atmosphere in different charges and their duration would indicate the duality of how long that energy production of a spontaneous charge or excitation has been traveled over a specific time and distance. So waves travel for a very long time in the ocean. Sometimes you see that, sometimes you don't. I mean, basically, a lot of people on the planet hasn't seen the ocean, so it's complex for them to understand how long these waves travel. Okay, okay. So, anyways, back to these different tools that we can make not only on the ocean, not only in space, not only on the mountains, but not only on the land quantity, different types of phase quantities like in the deserts or in and the populated forest like Greenland areas. It would just be a different charge like interaction with how we can produce these different tools to make different types of bendings of energy to store and harness different types of carbon-like effects. So it will bend energy differently, corresponding to our atmosphere currents. Would be the spinning of the whole globe and the gravitational waves that it make. The currents make which would be the oxygen turbulence and or the wind turbulence, the design that it makes for gravitational exertion of the daily phases that it makes in order to design. Sorry, obviously, if you look at the whole planet in its nuclear phases, you would see a wind design of their wind tunnels and how their gravitational design around the whole sphere makes a geometric design. Sometimes it's clear geometric, sometimes it's weird geometric, different types of funnel-like and twists and turns and or running of constant curvature. Um, Thus, the different tools that we can make can obviously indicate different functionalities to our atmosphere and its turbulent-like interactions with of atmospheric tunnels and wind speeds. Um, but I mean, that was just another topic. We can obviously talk about that later. Obviously, I don't want to talk too much. It looks like it's been going on for quite a while. So if you ever want to talk to me, I have a lot of ideas. Understanding um, the different thermodynamic phases of the planet and the electronic ground would indicate new corresponding directions to and or coordinates to the magnetic field. Since the magnetic field is nonstop, the plasma underground is nonstop moving. Since the plasma under our feet would obviously indicate different charges or magnetisms and or different types of like atomic scale black holes in our vacuums, we never really get to see them. Although you would see a relation to how the nuclear phases work if you look at the sun, you see the magnitude phases, and you see the vacuum phases, and you see the current phases. It's different. There's like a billion different types of different activations and or activities corresponding to the galactic center and how it detects and or collects different types of magnetic detections due over a specific space and vacuum and or alignments with other solar systems and or planets, making a direct charge contact to them is really beautiful. It's really amazing, and it also does things inside as the vacuum contains large quantities of space at the speed of its vacuum, and the energy it sustains to sustain those vacuums in our pockets, containing these dark energy-like interactions and or charges to create various new phases of bonds and things like that, corresponding to the distance of these different types of matter, like exotic matter, like phases. So we can talk about this another time. Again, I didn't want to talk your brain off, but it's whatever.